Hi, everybody. Welcome to Vault Hours 31. My name is Ryan. I am one of your hosts today. Our other host, Casey, is on the line, my esteemed colleague, and we are here to answer questions, pretty much have a really open discussion with everybody today. We got a bunch of really fun guests coming on the Bitwarden side that I know we're going to have a lot of questions. So actually, let's just jump into the agenda real quick so we can just see what we are talking about. The first one is our first half of the year product roadmap. So we have to talk about what Bitwarden is working on for first half of the year. As you can possibly imagine, there's been um, a few prioritizations made. Oh, the music is still going. Oh, sorry about that. And we are going to have the product team come on and help us with the walking through the product roadmap. Then I am going to talk about setting up new devices with Bitwarden. So, for example, I know Christmas was a month ago at this point, but if anybody got some fun devices, some new laptops, new phones, we'll talk about favorite settings for that. And then we'll go over Data Privacy Week, which is this week, I believe. So everything is happening right now. So, moving on, just want to remind everybody again that you're welcome up here on screen. I believe we're only allowed to have four people on screen at once, so we'll have to kick one of us. We have already queued up two folk from the product team who are going to help us out. But if you have any questions, we'll figure out who to sacrifice to get you up here so he can hear your question. And with that, let's take a look at any initial questions that we have. I see that we had a few already about biometric unlock that we've answered. Pessimistic, if Bitwarden were to shut down, what would happen with all of our stuff? Well, if we were to shut down, the first, let's say, we always talk about this, like meteor, right? Giant meteor smashes into our data center, what happens? Well, firstly, you'll have local caches on your devices, and I'm pretty sure a meteor smashing into a data center in the United States would probably hit the news, so you might hear about it. You would be able to extract all your information and go on to GitHub, fork over a copy, and because we are open source, you would just be able to rebuild the application from scratch, and then start using Bitwarden on your own, in your own developed fork if you liked. But we do recommend that you do keep regular backups of your vault. It's always good to have that just in case. We have a wonderful guide on our website resource that I can find for a moment and link about backing up your vault. So that's really a great way to be a little bit more safe with your stuff. Okay. And with that, we can go right into. If anybody has any other questions, please put them in the Q&A. If you don't have, you can put it in chat, or we can also get you up on board. But we'll go ahead and turn it over to our product team to talk to us about the roadmap.
Cool. Thanks, Ryan. I believe I'm up first here. So we have the roadmap split out into a couple of different areas of focus. I'm Micah, one of the product managers here at Bitwarden, and my area of focus here is up at the top, Vault Experience and Community. So hopefully some of you have seen our post about this on the community forums. If not, it's there for you to check out, and we make updates to that periodically. But for Vault Experience and Community, for the first half of the year, what we're going to be looking at is expanding the passwordless login options. So at the end of last year, we were able to bring that new login with device feature to the Web Vault. We're going to be bringing that experience to the other clients, so browser, desktop, mobile, and also expanding the devices you can approve login on to include the desktop app. So that is something you can look forward to. We're also going to be looking at Vault item sharing. So we already allow sharing between members of organizations using Bitwarden collections, but sometimes you need to share something with someone who is not a part of your organization. Sometimes you might want to share something and not have that person receive updates, so you can change the password and they won't get the new password. And for that, we're going to be creating sharing items using send. So quickly creating a send that contains all of the vault item information. We're also going to be looking at creating custom item types. This is because we have so many users who have a diversity of use cases. We just can't serve everybody by adding new types to the vault. And so we want to allow users to build out the types that best suit their needs and save information in their vault the way that they want to. Enhanced localization here. This is mostly focusing on improving the quality of life for our community translators. If you didn't know, Bitwarden is translated into over 40 languages, and that's all done by volunteers in our community. We're super grateful for them, and enhanced localization here really is focusing on making their work easier so that Bitwarden can be translated into additional languages or more easily translated. Then Vault item labels. This is a refactor of the current folders structure so that there's a little bit less confusion between folders and collections, and also makes it easier for users to organize their Vault items the way that they want to. And then account switching. We have account switching on our mobile app, on our desktop app, and we want to bring this to the browser extension as well to make it easy to switch between, say, your work Bitwarden and your personal Bitwarden when you're browsing the web. And then in the future, we have here some items that product and product design are researching and looking into. So you may see these on the roadmap in the future. These include passkey support. So last year, Apple, Google sort of released their version of a passkey technology for passwordless authentication. We want to enable Bitwarden to support similar functionality and sync passkeys between devices. Referrals. We are super grateful for our community members always referring Bitwarden to their friends and family and to their places of work, and we want to build out systems that make that easier to do just from the product. A notification center or to allow our users to manage their notification preferences so that they're always aware of important security events and maybe even product updates as they occur. Offline editing has been an ask from our community for a long time to be able to edit items when you are not and save new items. So you can always access your vault when you're offline, but you're not able currently to add new items or make changes to items when you're offline. And so this would include the ability to do those things. And then we want to keep focusing on the desktop app. We think that there's more functionality we can bring to that to bring it closer in line with the functionality that you have on the web vault. That is it for the Vault experience in community. I'll hand it over now to Priya.
Thanks, Micah. Hi, everyone. I'm Priya, and I'm also a product manager here focused on our enterprise and channel customers. So I'll be going through the next two sections. So starting with Bitwarden for Business, first up, we have the Navigation Vault Refresh, and this is a multi-phase project. So coming very soon, we have some improvements for our organizational vault, which will improve and kind of make the relationship between members, groups, and collections more intuitive. And then later on, we will be making more improvements to both the end user and organizational vault, which will make also like the navigation and the overall UI more sleeker and intuitive as well. With collection permissions, we're going to focus on making collections more self-serve. So allowing users to manage and create their own collections and taking some of that responsibility off the owners and admins if they decide to do so. And with account management and deprovisioning, this is providing owners and admins more control over their members' accounts across the full lifecycle from creation to deletion. And then with organization dashboards, this will provide more visuals as well as a more consolidated view of your organization's vault health. So this includes, like I said, a consolidated view of the different reports, as well as providing ways to action on those insights quickly. And then with onboarding optimizations, we're looking at ways to improve onboarding both for our end users as well as our admins and owners. So for our end users, getting them to kind of those light bulb moments to understand the value of a password manager. And for admins and owners, giving them more of that onboarding experience and setting up the organization and doing their initial configurations and integrations. And then with expanded enterprise policies, with this, we'll be introducing new policies based on the feedback that we've gotten from our customers, as well as expanding existing ones. So that includes, ways to maybe apply certain policies to certain groups or changing requirements based on the groups you have in your organization. And then moving on to future initiatives, we also have planned custom role enhancements. So this includes introducing new custom permissions, as well as providing ways to save those custom roles so that you can apply those roles to multiple members. And then we have SSO enhancements, which will, we have SSO today, but we're looking at ways to improve the SSO login flow. So that includes things around our organization identifier, as well as the master password requirement. And we're also looking at ways to provide more SSO options to our owners and admins. And then from here, we have a few integrations planned. So one is SIM, which takes our Bitwarden event logs to a broader dashboard and platform that provides more insights to organizations on specific security risks and vulnerabilities. We have MDM integrations that'll support also initial configuration and setup and provide a more secure way for organizations to manage their mobile devices. And then lastly, technology integrations. This is more of a broader research bucket on additional integrations that we're looking into. So this includes additional security alerting, as well as ways to get notifications on certain events, such as like Slack or Teams. And then moving on from Bitwarden for Business, I'll talk through ways that we're helping our MSPs and resellers scale. And with this, I'll kind of go through the main themes here. So one is focused on billing. So we'll be helping our resellers kind of improve their workflow and ways to manage their customers. And also with professional service automation integrations and client invoice updates, we'll be improving the billing experience for our providers. The other main theme is around roles and permissions. So between technician assignment to clients, as well as additional technician roles, we'll be providing more permissions within the provider portal, as well as providing more granularity on how those provider users are assigned to their clients within the provider portal. And then for the last two items in the future initiatives, we have remote monitoring and management integrations, which providers use to kind of manage the initial setup of their clients' Bitwarden instance, as well as kind of the ongoing support and maintenance. And then lastly, client procedure documentation, which really just helps providers note down certain procedures and implementation notes around their client's implementation. So that's all for business and MSPs and resellers. So I'll hand it off to Casey to talk through Secrets Manager.
Yeah, thank you. So the last point in this chart is increasing developer productivity. So in 2023, we are planning on launching Secrets Manager, which will enable developers to transmit and share and secure developer secrets. So if you're interested in trying out this beta when it's released, you can sign up for the beta waitlist at bitwarden.com/secretsbeta, or you can just find it on our community forums. So we're really excited about this new product, and hopefully you'll give it a shot. And with that, I'll hand it off to Vivian to talk through a little bit about passwordless.dev.
Yeah, thanks, Casey. Hey, everyone. This is Vivian Schick. I work with Casey and Ryan here on the Bitwarden marketing team. And yes, Bitwarden made an acquisition. And what this acquisition means is it's really putting all of the ease, the simplicity, the speed into the hands of developers who are seeking to build passkeys and FIDO2 WebAuthn features such as Face ID, Touch ID, Windows Hello. On the flip side of this, for enterprises, what this means is that if you are an enterprise with existing commercial and other homegrown applications, this just makes it really easy for you to integrate modern passwordless authentication flows into your existing applications. So passwordless.dev provides a comprehensive out-of-the-box API, and it really trims down all of that development work around the different cryptographic operations, the technical flows, and all of that. And so what used to take weeks can be now accomplished in minutes. And so if you are interested, we launched the beta program last week. You can find out more information on passwordless.dev. That is the site where you can learn more about the beta program. The founder of passwordless.dev Anders Aberg. He is now the director of passwordless at Bitwarden. He joined Bitwarden, and he will be leading this initiative. I just did a Twitter Spaces with Anders earlier this week. So if you want to learn more about him, learn more about his background, and really his mission of why he built passwordless.dev, which was to really help people mitigate phishing attacks and data breaches. So if you go to the Bitwarden Twitter handle, you can probably find a recording of that conversation with myself and Anders. So yeah, it's exciting time for developers and enterprises who are looking to build out more passwordless experiences for their users.
Great, thank you, Vivian. And with that, I'll be handing it off to Ryan to talk a little bit more about setting up new devices.
Yes, I will talk about that. Just wanted to go through some of the questions that came through. We've been diligently answering in the chat, but there may be a few that people might be interested in and just hearing a little bit more about. One was brought up by Ken. Is Bitwarden aware of the news being put out that Bitwarden vaults are being targeted by Google Ads? The answer is we are aware. We're taking steps to report that. Other password managers have also made statements on Twitter about it as well. What's really important is that you just make sure that you're going to bitwarden.com or vault.bitwarden.com and that it's spelled correctly. And so just be careful out there. There's people out there trying to take advantage of this and do nefarious things. So everyone just be alert and vigilant. Another question, how many users did you gain after Steve Gibson recommended Bitwarden to replace LastPass? So for those who don't know, Steve Gibson is a podcaster, a prominent podcaster in the industry. His co-host has been using Bitwarden for a while he has been with LastPass, and he just recently made a switch over and did a segment about it. We're glad he joined us, but because the security networks that he's a part of really respect his opinion, and we hope to live up to everything that he praises us for now. Okay, so moving on to the setting up new devices. So one of the things that you kind of need to be aware of with Bitwarden right now is that the way everything is set up, settings are handled on a per client basis, and in some cases even a per account basis on the same client, such as if you're using mobile or desktop with account switching. So this way, it's set up this way so that you can really set up your security profile for different devices. So for example, if you have a work laptop or a home PC, you can have different settings for that. So for example, a work laptop that you might be out in the field more often, maybe you have more strict security. A home device, for example, like a gaming rig, like what I've got in this room that I never leave, I'm a little bit more lax on that because I know that someone has to physically accost me to get at it. So same, which would be the same client but different settings on different devices. So looking at some of my favorite settings for my extension. So I use Brave as my daily driver, and I have Bitwarden extension installed. And there are three settings that I primarily select every time that I need to make an adjustment, like if I log in again or if I reinstall. The three main settings I use are set up so that I don't have to enter my master password nearly ever at all, only on the initial login. And so the way I've done that is if you go to the settings under security, I have my vault timeout set to on browser restart. And the reason I'm okay with this is because I'm one of those people that only have at max 3 tabs open at a time, and I close my entire window when I'm done with all my tabs. So I don't know. So some people don't operate that way, but I do. So I'm always closing or relaunching my browser. And when that initiates a vault timeout. And the action that I have for that is locking instead of logging out, which means locking means I don't have to go through 2FA or anything. And what I've done is I've set it up to unlock with a PIN. And I have it's a simple PIN, PIN number. I guess that's redundant. It's a simple PIN that just is a different PIN than what I use to log into Windows. So Windows is set up to a PIN. I use one for that, and then I have a different PIN for Bitwarden. And then on the next slide, there's actually in the unlock with PIN, there's actually a hidden setting in there where when you're selecting the PIN, whether or not you want to lock with the master password on browser restart, that comes checked by default, and I uncheck it. So that's what I do. And then the last thing that I change that is not a default setting is I change the theme. I switch. You can find themes in settings, other, and then options, and then there's the theme setting. There's a drop down. There's 4 different themes, but 5 options. One is default, which is whatever your browser default is. So if you're set to dark mode on browser, it will be dark mode in the extension. But there are 4 themes. My favorite is Nord. We have light, dark, Nord, and solarized dark. So we'll love to hear what everyone prefers to use.
Yeah, one thing to note is that also you can set this for different clients. So personally, I like having different themes on different clients. So like Nord on desktop, maybe the dark version on my browser extension. So everyone has their preference on this one. Right.
All right. Next one is my mobile settings. I'm just going over what's different from default. So I changed my Vault timeout down to 5 minutes. That gives me enough time to log into whatever I'm working on, or if I need to log out or back in again, or I don't know, sometimes close Firefox if it crashes. I don't have to re-verify. I can just do a quick, easy Vault fill. And on Vault Timeout, I just have it lock again. In this case, instead of using a PIN, I unlock with biometrics. That is, I get to use my fingerprint on my phone just to unlock it and get back in. And one thing that is off by default on the mobile device is this one here called Approve Login Requests. And if you recall, a couple months ago, we added a new feature when you're logging into the Web Vault of login with device, which is basically a good passwordless experience for logging into your Web Vault. So you could just use your second device, in this case the phone, to verify your login. But you need to have this selected as on in order to be able to even receive those requests. So I turned that on. And I do know we talked about it in the roadmap that this is also going to be coming to be available to more clients as well. Just a question for the audience. Those were the settings I did. Actually, very minimal changes, just a few things here and there. When you guys are setting up a new device with Bitwarden, what do you prefer? What is there any audience favorite setting? Please type it in chat. We can talk about it as we go through. I see a couple people asking questions. Bitwarden won't offer to save a password. Okay, question here from Mark. I use the Opera browser, and often when I create an account on a new website, Bitwarden won't offer to save a password. I wonder why. Also, if I update a password, it wants to update. This is something. And last thing we get to is site that's saved in Bitwarden, it'll anywhere to autofill. Okay, so our detection, like we're always working on trying to improve our suggestions for passwords, and I know that the team is working hard on improving that further. We actually have a form. If you need to, you can report some pages to us that aren't working on autofill. But we suggest, and when you're creating a new website, the preferred method for creating a new login is to add a new Bitwarden entry before you create an account. That way you can generate a strong password, you can use your username and save it, and then when you're in the create a password, confirm your password settings, you could just hit the autofill hotkey and it will automatically fill both windows and you're already in. So you can actually save yourself a couple of steps by creating the Bitwarden entry before even creating the new account. And then when you are trying to autofill on a website, you see sometimes I get a site that's saved on Bitwarden, I won't see anywhere to autofill. We don't have a button that gets populated into the page that uses a level of code injection to create some sort of like overlay over top of your screen. We prefer not to do that. If you need to have something where it just gets filled in automatically, there are a couple of ways to do it. The first way that's fastest for me and what I prefer is the hotkey control or command Shift L for login, and it will automatically fill with whatever. If you have a password saved, it'll fill that in automatically on that. Also, you can open the extension and click on it, and that will do it. You can right-click on the field and go to the Bitwarden menu and then choose which one to autofill. And then lastly, if you wanted to set it up so that it autofills whenever you load the page automatically, you can go to your extension setting and go into options and turn on autofill with page load. That's actually off by default because we list it as experimental. It's a good solution for people who prefer that, but some people don't believe it's the most secure.
Another question that also just came in was from Avi. Looks like that just got answered. Oh no, it got lost. Hold on. But it was essentially asking about being able to pop out the browser extension and have it float around on your page or have it in a persistent area of your browser. And yes, you can use the little pop out icon on your browser extension to pop out that extension and have it move around as you'd like. And then also on Firefox and I believe Opera, you can also have a persistent sidebar, which I really enjoy, just being able to have Bitwarden always easy, unlocked, and accessible whenever you're browsing the internet.
Data Privacy Week.
Data Privacy Week. So this is our next topic. So for those who might not be familiar, Data Privacy Week is a pretty big thing at Bitwarden. It started out with Data Privacy Day, which this year is the 28th on Saturday. And it's since kind of evolved into a full week of kind of excitement. We do an annual survey of the Bitwarden community about their top secure, security providers. And we got a lot of responses this year to this survey, almost 3,000 total responses from the Bitwarden community. So a lot of people are very passionate about their top and favorite security providers. So this will be kind of a first look at some of the results from this year. And as I kind of run through some of the top results from these categories, I'm going to launch a couple polls so you can vote along with me as I run through them. So we can kind of see if the general Bitwarden community and our Vault Hours community might have different preferences on this. So I'm already seeing a couple people voting. Really interesting. So let's just jump right in. So first off, in terms of favorite secure browsers, Firefox and Brave are at the top of the list here with 45% and 40%. And then we have DuckDuckGo, Tor, and Opera. Let's see if anyone's responded to that in the poll. Yeah, it looks like a lot of people like Firefox. And then Brave is second there. Wow, yeah, getting a lot of votes for Firefox. That's awesome. Beautiful. Well, I'll leave that running. We'll hop on to the next category. The next one is favorite secure email providers. First being Proton Mail, which is the clear winner in this category, with 73% of the Bitwarden community using Proton Mail. And that seems to align pretty closely with what the Vault Hours community also voted. We have 6 votes for Proton Mail in the poll. And then I'm going to butcher this name. I already know it. But in second for favorite secure emails is Tutanota, and then Skiff, and then Fastmail. I'm not seeing any votes for those other 3, so I think that this survey is pretty accurate so far. And then for those who might not be familiar with Crowdcast, you can answer the polls on the bottom of your screen under polls, or if you're using the latest version of Crowdcast, it might be on the right-hand side. See, so next is favorite secure email aliases. We have Simple Login and DuckDuckGo at the top here. Then Firefox Relay, Anon Addy, Fastmail, and StartMail. And what's really interesting is that I also noticed that the top 5 options here are also email alias integrations with Bitwarden. So if you're interested in any of these email alias providers, or you already use them, you can integrate that with your Bitwarden account, which is pretty cool in my opinion. Okay, so we've got 6 votes for Simple Login here, and then 1 vote for Firefox Relay, and 1 vote for Anon Addy. Nothing for DuckDuckGo yet. That's kind of interesting. Okay, moving on to the next category. We have the community's favorite secure search engines. DuckDuckGo is the clear winner here and also the winner in our poll with 4 votes in the poll and 52% of the Bitwarden community voting for DuckDuckGo. Next, we have Brave, StartPage.com, and Quant. Amazing. Okay. Next is what is your favorite secure messaging app? We have Signal as the clear winner here. I don't think anyone's really surprised by that with 60%. In second, we have Telegram. We put a note here as well that, well, it is included in our list of favorite secure messaging apps. It is not encrypted by default, so we don't want to mislead anyone there. Next, we have Session, Threema, and Element. Amazing. Yeah, it looks like we have 6 people using Sigma, 1 using Telegram in the Bitwarden community. In the Vault Hours community. Next, we have favorite secure authenticator apps. The top vote with the Bitwarden community overall was Authy, although we do want to note here that they require a mobile number to sign up. So a little bit of debate about how secure that is, but it is the most used by the Bitwarden community. Although it looks like in the poll, Yubico is actually the most used with 3 votes. Authy has 2 votes, and Ravo OTP has 1 vote. Next, we have favorite secure notes applications. In this graphic as well, everything that is grayed out is not end-to-end encrypted, so a good thing to note here, but they are still things that the Bitwarden community, who are pretty security conscious, are using, so something interesting to note there. Standard Notes is everyone's favorite, with 25% of the Bitwarden community voting it as their favorite. Next is Notion, Obsidian, OneNote, Joplin, Evernote, and then CryptPad. And it looks like Standard Notes is also the clear winner in terms of the poll that's running as well, with 4 votes. Great. I think that's it. But thank you, everyone, for playing along and casting your votes in the poll. But our poll is actually still running. I know I just kind of shared the results, but you can still cast your vote using this link here, and I'll provide that in the chat as well.
Yeah, the what was shared today was the preliminary results, and of course they can always change.
Exactly.
So
cool. Yeah, let's maybe try and get up to 3,000 respondents. That'd be awesome.
yeah, I think 3,000 is specifically significant, right?
Oh,
If I remember
absolutely.
stats-wise. Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't done statistics in a while, but I'm sure. Great. And with that, I'll hand it off to you, Ryan, for the blog.
All right, we'll go through the blog and some updates that we've had. But just before we do that, just a quick question that came in. I thought it's a good one to talk about is, what are your thoughts on using a passphrase or a random password? If your passphrase is long enough, it certainly is as secure as random can be. I prefer using a passphrase on passwords that I need to remember, because I'm just better at doing that. But if Bitwarden is doing the remembering for me, I'll just have a 16 character, 17 character, 20 character, completely random password. So because there's no way I would be able to remember it on my own. But a passphrase is easier. So for something important that you just need to remember, definitely do something like that. I like Gina. I use a passphrase that makes me happy to type out. I like that. Data Privacy Day, I guess, is part of Data Privacy Week. We talk about everything in this blog about the recommendations for being secure and private, and how your data and your privacy is important and secure, and you need to secure it, and you need to kind of own privacy. Our next blog, Open Source Security Explained. This is a great article that just goes through the benefits of open source and security. I feel like we talk on this topic a lot, and with good reason. It's really, really strong and a great differentiator for Bitwarden as well, because the open source aspect of it really brings a lot of extra security and from the community and from professionals. Top 5 ways business executives can stay safe online. Business executives are a really big, high-profile target for hackers and never do gooders. What do they call it? The old-fashioned term? But people are looking to get at these guys, people who are CEOs, CTOs, and they're also not often very well trained on being secure. So we have some tips for staying secure, including thinking about phishing, social engineering. Bitwarden and Apple Watch. This is it's actually part of a release that we hadn't talked about. At the end of December or beginning of December, we released a beta version of this, and we got feedback, and we were on the train of getting this out the door, and we were able to pull it out of beta and into general availability as part of our January release. So now, if you have an iOS device and you download Bitwarden from the Apple App Store, you will also have Bitwarden available on your Apple Watch. Right now, The feature that we have for it is TOTP generation, your timed one-time passcode, so you can see your TOTPs as you can see there on the left of this image. Very soon, or as the team is working and prioritizing, we will have additional features available. So it was just our first iteration, and we're super excited to bring Bitwarden to a wearable. Bitwarden Tech Stack, built for security and scalability. This is a really cool in-depth blog about the tools that Bitwarden uses to have built the company, built our technology, and how we stay secure. So if you're interested in seeing how, like, the kind of the behind the scenes, the tools and languages that we use and how we develop stuff, you can check this blog out. Expanding the Bitwarden experience from one to many. So this is if you were a small business owner and you had an account for yourself, what would you want to do? The steps you need to take to bring Bitwarden to your employees, teammates, colleagues, just being able to kind of grow and start sharing and add more people to a plan. Cybersecurity awareness holidays. It was funny. I was actually looking at our website traffic analytics, and I saw that this blog is actually getting really high traffic. I guess everybody at the beginning of the year wants to go through and mark their calendar and see all the cybersecurity holidays that are happening throughout the year. I know there's a couple in October, there's some in January, but if you're curious, just kind of see like all the holidays. Unfortunately, not work holidays, but if you wanted to help spread some awareness about cybersecurity, around some specific dates, there's going to be additional resources, so you can see what's coming up this year.
I feel like I need to go through and mark my calendar with these. I don't think I've done that yet.
Yeah, it would definitely help, so I know when our social media person is underwater with trying to comment and make things, so I don't bother.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Great, cool. Well, then I will jump on over to the news feed. Thank you, Ryan. So the first article I wanted to highlight, there's quite a few things that were going on the news this week, but the first one is this great article by Fast Company that highlights just 3 really simple, free ways to improve your online security in 2023. The first point was just using a password manager. They noted Bitwarden as a great free option, although we all know that we also have great paid options, but that's totally fine. And then secondly is just enabling two-factor authentication on all of your accounts that offer it. And then lastly, keeping your software up to date. So just making sure that your software is always updated with the latest version, just to make sure that it is as secure as possible. Next is this great post by the Washington Post. I couldn't help but include the GIF that they had on their article because it just makes me laugh. In an earlier conversation with Ryan, he pointed out that the guy in the GIF is fencing, but he's not using a foil. He's using a katana. So I'm not quite sure what the thought process was there, but makes me laugh anyway. So the article is called "Everything You've Been Told About Passwords is a Lie." And so they go through a couple different tips for staying secure while using passwords. They essentially state that passwords are just meant to die, right? Eventually, they're not going to be as useful as they are now. But in the meantime, these are the tips that you can take. Kind of overlaps with the last article I talked about. So aiming for longer password phrases, considering two-factor authentication, using a password manager, all the good stuff that everyone should be doing. And then they also recommend adopting passwordless and passwordless technology. As we've adopted passwordless.dev, hopefully that will be a little bit easier for you moving forward. Great. And then the next thing that's been kind of happening in the news recently, it's been a security incident has kind of pushed a lot of publications to talk about moving from another password management provider to Bitwarden. So if anyone on the call has a friend or family member who's thinking about making the switch to Bitwarden, these articles have some really great guides on how to import that information and get yourself set up. Cool. And then Dawn, I think you can take it away with the help section.
Thanks, Casey. I think we have Sai here too. Can we bring her up to do the help and learning section?
Absolutely. I will get her on the screen.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Casey. So just wanted to call out some of the resources that we have available. So our help center is great for all of our product documentation. So we've got everything from getting started and things that have been around for a little while, like Bitwarden Send, to some brand new topics like installing and deploying the new Bitwarden Unified Beta, or like Ryan mentioned a little bit earlier, we've got both a blog post and help center article for how to use your Apple Watch to access your TOTP codes. So both some information and some how-to out there. So moving on to the Learning Center. The Learning Center, we've got videos, how-to guides, all sorts of great content that will help you, kind of a little bit more user-friendly, step-by-step guides here. And we just released quite a few new guides to our Learning Center. So we've got all the ones listed there that were just released this past Wednesday. And then we are going to be adding some more supporting modules coming soon. So making sure that you've got everything that you need as you get started with us. All right, and then over to DW.
All right, can everyone hear me okay? I have been historically plagued by audio issues, so please let me know if anything goes wrong at all. So yeah, I'm DW, Technical Evangelist here at Bitwarden. I work a lot with our community and our clients, and we're going to talk a little bit about community. So next slide, please. Okay, so 2 initiatives that we have started is to compile all the amazing stuff that everyone is doing. So we now have a community tips section on the forums, and we're starting a wiki on Reddit. So not only do we have our official documentation, but we have a lot of work that the community has put time into for little edge cases and things like that, little tips and tricks and guides. And so these are different spaces that we're working on to help surface those great community resources. So thank you for anyone who has submitted a guide or who will continue to help out us and other community members. I love seeing people welcoming new community members on the forums and Reddit and even over on Mastodon. And then how do we get involved? There are so many ways to get involved with Bitwarden. So head to bitwarden.com/get-involved for a whole page of info. But basically, if you're interested, you can even contribute code. You can help us translate. So if Bitwarden is not available in your native language, we can hopefully change that. If you're super passionate about a specific part of Bitwarden you think is lacking, let us know by submitting a feature request for voting and discussion. And then if you have other questions that other people may have answered or are thinking about, we have the Ask the Bitwarden community section. If you always like to be ahead of the curve, we have the beta program to check out the mobile apps before they launch the new version, and even different user studies where we source different feedback and thoughts from the community, and the events page to find out about other great events, such as this one. We have our weekly demo every Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we walk through and do Q&A. And then careers, our team is always growing. So if you love Bitwarden and want to take it even a step further, think about joining the team. There's a whole bunch of roles open at bitwarden.com/careers. Just picked a couple to highlight here. We have a customer success specialist position, backend software engineer, demand generation campaign specialist, and sales development representative. So from all facets of Bitwarden, we're looking for you. And if you don't see something that matches, there's a general interest form there too. So just let us know what you think you could contribute to the team. We would love to hear about it. And then I think this is the last section for us, weekly events. So we have our ongoing demo. February 2nd, we have Bitwarden Brilliance. So that is led by our integration team. So it's more of a technical demo. We're going to have a couple of these different demos hitting our different channels, so stay tuned for that. But for this particular one, Unified is currently in beta. That's an alternative self-hosting solution. It's lightweight, it's customizable. You can use it on those low-power devices. So if you haven't checked it out, that's going to be a good show on Twitch. And then on the 9th, we have an MSP demo. And we also have a second one. We're starting to do 2 a month. So the 23rd will be the second one. So bitwarden.com/events for more information. Thank you for this error-free audio, I hope. Thank you so much, and stay secure, everybody.
Thank you, Don. One thing I also would love to add is that It's not live on bitwarden.com/events yet, but our next Vault Hour session will also be in February, on February 24th. So if you like this session, that is also something you can sign up for probably later today, depending on how quickly I get to it. Looks like we also have a couple questions before we hop into one last thing. So one of the questions is from Mark, asking about TOTP seeds in the Bitwarden account, saying that some say it's only as strong as your master password, and what are our thoughts? Dawn had a really great answer here, just about it's really your preference and what you want to do in terms of your threat model. But if you are working with a larger team and you'd like two-factor authentication on your accounts, this is a really great way to share those two-factor authentication codes throughout the team, as opposed to like sending it over a text message or something like that. So really depends on your preference, but this is a great way to share those authentication codes in a very secure way. Looks like we also got another question about offering additional languages in the Help Center and what plans we have. Ming says that you have clients that only speak Spanish but are currently on a different password manager, and currently Bitwarden's help articles only do Japanese and German, and luckily translations are in the works, and that's something we're definitely aware of. We don't have a specific timeline, but it is definitely in the works. Great, that looks like that's all the questions right now. So one more thing, if you've attended any of these Vault Hours in the past, you know that we typically do a Bitwarden store giveaway at the end of the session. So great opportunity to win some fun swag. I'm wearing one of my Bitwarden t-shirts right now. Honestly, incredibly comfy. Sometimes I sleep in it. So great options to definitely check out. So to enter the giveaway, visit bitwarden.com/shop and then scroll down to the bottom of the page and fill out the contact form there. And just say in the comments that you heard about the giveaway during Vault Hours 31. And you must submit this within 24 hours of the session. So one thing to also note is that there are no repeat winners. I promise we keep track. So if you've won before, you're not eligible for winning again. Yeah, Micah says he's a big fan of that travel mug. I'm also a big fan of that travel mug. That's a great mug. Great. So with that, thank you everyone for joining. If there's any questions or comments, please put that in the chat or just ask a question in the questions pane. We'll be hanging out here for a bit, so feel free to give us some things to talk about.
All right, I'm going to play us off with some music, but I'll stick around for a little bit.
And as Ryan's setting that up, I just want to reiterate what Ryan said, which is bookmark all your websites. Stop typing things in. It's such an easy way to get phished. You have one character off. Having those bookmarks securely available or launching directly from Bitwarden by adding your web vault in there. Great advice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was a great reiteration. Beautiful. Well, thank you everyone for joining.